Thank you for tuning into podcast number 56 of Sports Talk with JWock. I'm your host, Jonah Walkenfoos, and today I'm going to be giving my opinion, which could be really bad, but it's my opinion about the way too early power rankings for the upcoming NFL season. So if you want to hear more about that, make sure to stay tuned. Once again, thank you for tuning in to podcast number 56 of Sports Talk with JWock. And today, we're back on the tier list maker where we are going to be ranking based off of how I believe teams will end up doing this upcoming season, based off of kind of power rankings and how, I think their standings are going to end up being. So let's get started. We're going to do the AFC first, and then we'll do a little break, and then we'll do the NFC afterwards. So the way I kind of ranked or made these tiers is first you're going to either be 1 through 7 right around here, which is the playoff caliber teams, and then you got 8 through 16 where these teams will be either just missing the playoffs or these teams will be, just not even close to making the playoffs, which is going to happen to many teams. Now, if you don't agree with my opinion, that's okay. This is my opinion. You guys can drop down below in the comment section who you think should be switched around, or if I was just completely wrong in my opinion. But let's just get started right away. So first up, we got the Cleveland Browns. This is an interesting team. I honestly was really high on the Browns last year because I really thought they had a solid team. The Browns just have a lot of question marks. They are a team that we don't know who's going to be the starting quarterback day one. Will it be, Joe Flacco? Will it be Kenny Pickett? Excuse me. Will it be Shedeur Sanders? Will it be Dylan Gabriel? Who knows? That defense, I think, is still going to be pretty solid. But honestly, I do think the Browns are going to be probably an 8 through 16 seed. I think this team is, they've still got a little bit of work to do. But yeah, we'll just see how that ends up going. And by the way, when I keep going, if you're all the way to the left around here, I'm assuming you're probably going to be the 8th seed. And then obviously to the right, that's 16. So, we'll go from there just to so maybe there's not as much confusion. Next up, we have the Los Angeles Chargers. And this is going to be interesting. For now, I'm honestly going to put them 1 through 7. I do think they could make the playoffs for sure. They have a really good offensive line. They have a good coach in Harbaugh. And I just really like what they're building. The only question mark is will the Chargers be able to do that in a pretty stacked conference and also just division in general? So I'm very curious to see how the Chargers are going to do. They've had some good moves. I believe they added Malachi Becton, the former offensive guard from the Philadelphia Eagles. So I think that's a really good addition. They also added Omarion Hampton in the draft, which I like. But yeah, the Chargers are definitely going to be a kind of one of those wild card teams to start. Next up, we have the Buffalo Bills. They're definitely going to be a 1 through 7. I think they could be the number 1 team in the AFC, but we'll see. They added Joey Bosa this offseason, which was a kind of like a head scratcher, especially after getting rid of Von Miller. And Joey Bosa now has reportedly had a little injury that's been going around, so it just kind of feels dumb of a move, but I still think the Bills are going to be a really good team. Next up, we have the Raiders. I think the Raiders are moving in the right direction. It hurts me to say that as a Broncos fan, but I do still think they're going to be an 8 through 16. I think they'll be better than the Browns, just because I think the Raiders are building a solid core. I mean, they added Gentry this offseason in the draft. They brought in Geno Smith. Which Geno Smith's not the greatest quarterback, to be honest with you. They still have Crosby. They got him back on contract. They have Brock Bowers, and they also brought in Pete Carroll as a head coach. I'm pretty curious to see how the Raiders are going to do this year. They could be a sneaky team going into this season. Next up, we have the Indianapolis Colts. I also do think they're going to be an 8 through 16. I think they're going to be one of the teams that are going to be borderline playoffs like last year. Adding Tyler Warren in the draft was very good for them. I still think there's a question mark with, do you think Anthony Richardson could be the quarterback for your future? I don't know if he really can. He's a very inaccurate quarterback as of his young career has been going. So I'm very curious to see how Anthony Richardson is going to continue to play and if they want to continue to use him for the future. Next up, we have the Miami Dolphins. This is an interesting team as well, because when Tua was healthy, this team was actually playing really well. Tyreek Hill plays a lot better when Tua's healthy, when he has a quarterback to throw to him. They have a really solid offense, really explosive offense, but I do think they're going to miss the playoffs as well. Once again, another team that's going to be close to making the playoffs, but I think they're going to be cut a little short just because it feels like, just looking at the rest of the AFC teams, I feel like there's a decent amount of teams that are going to be better than them, just in my opinion at least. Next up, we have the New England Patriots. This is interesting because they added some pretty solid weapons. Now, Stephon Diggs is going through some altercations right now and some weird stuff going on. I don't understand why players do all this like dumb stuff off the field and expect themselves to not get punished for it. But I'm very curious to see how that ends up playing. But I do like how the Patriots drafted. I like how they added Travion Henderson. They also added a really good offensive lineman. I think his name was, I don't know if it was Will Campbell. I can't remember his name. I don't know if that was the one they ended up getting. But I do think they're going to also miss the playoffs again. I think they're like a year or two away from being a real solid team. I know they, like Drake May didn't really have much weapons and he still performed very well. I just don't know if they're going to be able to overcome some of these other teams in the AFC so far. Next up, we have the Cincinnati Bengals. I think this is a 1-7 team. I think they're going to be better than the Chargers. I don't think they'll be better than the Bills. They have some real big question marks going on with Travion Henderson. I believe the guy's last name is Henderson. I cannot think of the name right now. I apologize, but their pass rusher, who had, I believe, 17 sacks last year, an unbelievable pass rusher. They got to figure that situation out. But they did bring back Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, their wide receivers. So Joe Burrow still has plenty of weapons to work with. And I'm excited to see how this Bengals team's going to do. They're going to be hungry after last year being cut short by one game to my Denver Broncos to make the playoffs. And they're upset. They're going to try to come out hot. They started off slow. They can't do that this year, but I think they're going to be good. Next up, we have the Tennessee Titans, another team that I think is going to be an 8-16. I think they're probably going to be one of the worst teams still. I know Cam Ward's a good player. They added Tyler Lockett. They still have Ridley, I believe. It's not a bad team. I think they still have Tony Pollard as well at running back. It's a solid team. Their offensive line was kind of lacking, though. I don't remember how much they've added this offseason. I'm still, trying to figure out moves and stuff. And like I said, this is coming from someone who is not the most knowledgeable with the NFL, but I'm learning more and more about it every single day. But I do think the Titans will still be kind of towards the bottom of the AFC at least, for at least a year or two. And then if they continue to add weapons, I think they're going to be a solid team. I really do like Cam Ward as a prospect. Next up, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars adding one of the highly anticipated prospects in Travis Hunter in the draft. They did lose Evan Ingram, the tight end. I'm very curious to see how this team's going to end up being. I do think as well this is going to be one of those teams that's probably going to miss out on the playoffs, but could be borderline in the hunt for a long time. I do think that could be the case. And I'm probably going to switch up this order after I get everybody in. But yeah, just bear with me real quick. The Denver Broncos, I'm a Broncos fan. I'm not trying to be biased, but I really do think this team could make the playoffs. I think they could be a sneaky team to make a little bit of a run. We're seeing news now that Bo Nix is starting to not really worry about other things like footwork like he had to his rookie season. He's finally able to have a full offseason. They've added good weapons for him. And now he has the opportunity to be kind of the coach on the field now instead of being the guy that's just trying to learn the playbook. So I'm very excited to see Bo Nix's year 2 leap, hopefully. And hopefully it's not a year 2 slump. But I do think the Broncos can definitely be a playoff team. Next up, I have the Baltimore Ravens. And I'm very curious to see how this is going to end up being because this Ravens team looks solid. I believe they added D-Hop. I think this is going to be a playoff team for sure. I'm going to put them below Buffalo for now. But you have Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, you have D-Hop, and then you have a good defense that really started to pick up at the end of the season. This Ravens team, all they have to do now is prove that they can make it far into the playoffs. They've made it to the AFC Championship, but now you've got to make the Super Bowl. And I think this could be a year that they could. And if they don't, that's when concerns are going to really start coming to play. But I do think the Ravens are for sure going to make the playoffs. Next up, we have the Kansas City Chiefs. They're going to make the playoffs for sure. This team definitely regressed, especially with their offensive line. They traded away a couple of their players to be able to save some money, but they're still going to be a good team. You still have Patrick Mahomes. You still have Travis Kelce. You still have Rashee Rice, which I think is a good wide receiver. If Pacheco can pick it up, he didn't have the best season last year, but if he can play a lot better this season, this team's still going to be good. I still don't think any team in the AFC West is going to dethrone them quite yet, but it could be soon. Next up, we have the New York Jets, and I think this is going to be an okay team. I think I'll put them maybe above. I'll put them below the Browns. No. I think Justin Fields could have a solid season. They still have solid weapons. They have a decent defense. I'm curious to see what the Jets are going to be able to do. So we have 6 teams in the playoffs. Wow. Okay. So we have 2 teams and 1 more spot. I'm going to put the Texans in that spot. I think they could definitely make the playoffs. I think CJ Stroud, he had kind of a rough year too. It wasn't horrible, but yeah, you could definitely tell he slowed down a little bit. But it really wasn't horrible. But I do think this team's still going to be solid. And, as it stands, they would have to be number 4 because they'd be a division winner. But next up, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers. Sorry, I don't have much to say about the Texans. I just feel like they're just not in the best division. And then finally, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers, where they will be the team that will unfortunately miss the playoffs, where honestly, I'm very curious how this team's going to end up being because we still don't know the quarterback situation. A lot of people are just thinking Aaron Rodgers is on the team, but nobody knows. Nobody has any clue what Aaron Rodgers is doing. He always does this. He always waits so long and makes everything so much harder for a lot of teams. I think Aaron Rodgers is just waiting a while, and I think he's just going to take a short little contract, or if he just decides to retire, who knows, but I don't think he will. But yeah, this is how I'm going to shape out. Let's see if I need to change up anything. I think the Broncos. No, I'm going to put the Broncos up. I'm going to have confidence in my team. Okay, so I think the playoffs is pretty set, where we have the Bills at the 1 seed, Ravens at the 2, Chiefs 3, Texans 4, and those are all division winners. And then we've got the Bengals 5, Broncos 6, Chargers 7. So we have 3 teams in the AFC West making the playoffs again. And then in the 8 through 16, I kind of want to adjust a few things, maybe. Maybe not. I feel like I'm going to put the Steelers above the Colts. Yeah, I'm going to put the Steelers above the Colts. I'm going to give them a little bit more respect. But yeah, I think Miami at 8's good. I think Pittsburgh at 9's good. Indianapolis, I'm going to put them below the Jags. I think the Jaguars can be 10. I think that's what it is. Colts 11, Patriots 12, Raiders 13, Jets 14, Browns 15, Titans 16. Yeah, I think that's good. So anyways, that's the AFC playoff picture. Let me know what you guys think down below. And we're going to go up to the NFC and I'm going to give my opinion on those power rankings right after this. Okay, so we're back onto the NFC now, where we're going to be kind of giving my opinion on the power rankings, just like I did in the AFC. Same format and everything. Now, I will say this. The NFC, I feel like I don't have as much knowledge about, but honestly, it doesn't matter. Let's just get right into it. First up, we got the LA Rams, which is a very interesting team. I'm very curious to see how the Rams are going to do, especially adding Devontae Adams this offseason. But they also got rid of Cooper Kupp. I do think the Rams right now, I'm going to put them in the playoffs. But I think that could definitely change as the tier list goes on. Next up, we have the Detroit Lions. I do think they are going to be one of the top half teams, not just in the NFC, but in the NFL in general. They're back to health. Aiden Hutchinson is back and cleared for NFL activities again. So that's good for the Detroit Lions. They have a great running back duo. Jared Goff's not the greatest quarterback, but he's the kind of quarterback that can get the job done. They have solid tight end in Laporta. I think that's their tight end right now. And yeah, they have a solid defense. I like this Lions team. I like Campbell as their coach, and I'm really excited to see how they can perform in the 2025-2026 season. Next up, we have the Atlanta Falcons. Could be a sneaky team going into the playoffs. Michael Penix is getting the keys this year, it seems like. It doesn't seem like Kirk Cousins is going to be the starter. I'm going to put them in 8 through 16 right now. That could definitely change. I think the Rams and the Falcons are the two teams that could be sneaky teams that could, make the playoffs, but also could, not everyone can make the playoffs, so one of them might have to fall out of the playoff race. And I'll see which one I want that to be so far at the end of this. But next up, we have the San Francisco 49ers, a team in a very weird situation, again, where, they still have Brandon Ayuk. Brock Purdy just got a massive contract. They still have Christian McCaffrey, solid offensive line, solid defense. I'm going to say they missed the playoffs, but I think they're going to be a close team as well. Like I said, things can change. This NFC is crazy. It's a lot deeper than the AFC, it feels like. Next up, we have the Carolina Panthers, a team that was very bad at the start and kind of picked it up towards the end, especially when Bryce Young finally got his opportunity again. He did not waste that opportunity. I do think they're going to miss the playoffs again, but I do think they're closer than a lot of people think. Next up, we have the Seattle Seahawks. Also, another very interesting team that's going to be probably in the mix all year long. Adding Sam Darnold, but you did lose Geno Smith. But I do think Sam Darnold's kind of similar, if not a little bit more of an upgrade. They did get rid of DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, but they still do have Jackson Smith-Njigba. And they also brought in Cooper Kupp, which is a very interesting and a good addition for the Seahawks. I do think they're going to be out of the playoff race for now. This is a lot of teams right now. The Green Bay Packers, I think, are going to be a playoff team for sure. Obviously, this team, isn't the greatest, in my opinion. I don't think they're going to be like a Super Bowl bound team, but I think they're just a very solid team. I really do think Jordan Love's a good quarterback. They adding Josh Jacobs last offseason was really good. They also added Matthew Golden in the draft this year, so I'm very curious to see how the Packers are going to end up panning out so far. And I'm actually going to put them below because, the Rams would win the division if it stands right now. Next up, we have the New Orleans Saints. I think this is probably going to be one of the worst teams in the league, especially if they don't add like an Aaron Rodgers or a Kirk Cousins. This team is lacking a quarterback. Now, could they prove me wrong? Of course, and I kind of hope they do. But this Saints team is just missing a quarterback at this point. They are missing also some defensive weapons, in my opinion. But it's going to be very interesting to see how the Saints play this year, especially under a new head coach in Kellen Moore. Next up, we have the Dallas Cowboys, and the Cowboys are always an interesting team. No, this is not your year, Cowboys fans. If you're watching this, I'm sorry. And it's not going to be your year for a little bit until you honestly get rid of Dak Prescott. And I think that's true. I do like adding George Pickens, though. I do think this Cowboys team is going to be a lot better than last year. Do I put them in the playoffs over the 49ers, Seahawks, or Falcons? Probably not. So I'm going to put them maybe above the Falcons, maybe above Seattle. I'm going to put them above Seattle. I'm going to give Dallas somewhat respect for now. And like I said, things are going to change a lot probably by the end of this. Next up, we have the Chicago Bears. Very interesting team. We all, Caleb Williams going into year 2. I think he's going to have a solid year. Rome Odunze is a good wide receiver prospect. I like him a lot. They still have Swift at running back. I like that. They added Colston Loveland, which I think is an underrated pickup, but I still do think they're going to make the playoffs. That is the Eagles, not the Bears. I think the Bears are going to be close. I think they're going to be closer than a lot of people think, and I'm actually going to put Atlanta above Seattle. Next up, we have the Philadelphia Eagles. They're making the playoffs for sure. I think they'll win their division as well, which I think they could be like the number 2 seed in the NFC. They're still a good team. They lost some pretty solid weapons, but they went younger, and they still look really good. So I don't think there's much concern for the Eagles right now. Next up, we have the New York Giants, a very interesting team. Who's going to be the quarterback by the end of the season? Is it going to be Russell Wilson? Is it going to be Jameis Winston? Is it going to be Jackson Dart? Who knows? I still don't think this team is going to be making the playoffs yet, but I'm going to put them right around there. I do like Malik Neighbors. I think this team is making good progress, but I do think they're a couple years away from being able to compete. Next, we have the Minnesota Vikings, another interesting team that could be in the playoffs, but also might not. Honestly, like, it's kind of crazy to think about. JJ McCarthy is getting probably the nod as the starter to start the season off. He's got great weapons. I think this Vikings team's either going to be make or break. I'm going to put them at kind of the top of the not making the playoffs right now, but I'm very curious how that's going to end up panning out. Next up, we have the Arizona Cardinals. Oh my goodness. I'm already out of spots for the not making the playoffs. So all these 3 teams, let's start with, okay, you know what? Let's skip the Cardinals for now and the Buccaneers, and let's go to the Commanders. I think the Commanders will for sure make the playoffs. I think the Commanders will make the playoffs. I think Jaden Daniels is going to continue to pick up where he left off. They added Deebo Samuel, which is a great piece. They also added Laramie Tunsil, the left tackle from the Texans. I think they did that. I know they added a really good offensive lineman, and I think it was Laramie Tunsil. So, yeah, like a good piece there. I like what this Commanders team's doing. But, yeah, and I think Jaden Daniels is just going to continue to impress us. I don't think they're going to overcome the Eagles yet. Next up, we have the Cardinals. Do I think the Cardinals are going to make the playoffs, or should I move a different team up? Ooh, this is tough because, I really don't know who's going to make the playoffs out of all these guys. Because, okay, let's just do process of elimination. The Saints won't, I don't think. I don't think the Panthers will. I don't think the Giants. I don't think Seattle, but they could. That's the problem. They could. And they've got a good coach, good defense. You know what? Call me crazy. I'm putting Seattle in the playoffs. I'm putting Seattle in the playoffs, and I'm going to put the Cardinals as one of those teams that's going to be close to making the playoffs, but they won't be in the playoffs necessarily. And then I'm going to also move the Vikings down a couple spots because I'm very curious to see how J.J. McCarthy's going to do, and I think there's just a lot of question marks right now. And then we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and technically they'd be winning their division, so yeah, we're going to put them there. Now the real question is do we think the Seahawks would overcome the Rams in the NFC West? Do I think they would be a better team? Probably not. I think the Rams are still better as of now. I think the Seahawks are trending in the right direction, but they're just not quite there. But I think that's a good picture. I'm put the Falcons up there. I really do like Penix. I'm gonna put them above the Cowboys. But yeah, this is gonna be my NFL power rankings. If you guys disagree with me, that's totally okay. This is my opinion. I think the NFC could be switched around so much, but I think that's a solid picture as of now. Let me know what you guys think down below. But anyways, thank you guys so much for tuning in to podcast number 56 of Sports Talk with JWock. I am your host, Jonah Walkenfoos. If you want to check out me on social media, you can go down in the description below, and I have all the information there. So if you want to look me up on that. But anyways, thank you guys so much for tuning into podcast number 56, and I hope you all have an amazing week. God bless.